I got loyalty, got royalty inside my DNA. I got love, peace, got war and peace inside my DNA. I got poison, pain, and joy inside my DNA.
Hello and welcome back to my channel, Fanfic Fantasy. Join us as we delve into the realms of fanfiction and fantasy, bringing you the best stories and discussions. Today, we're kicking off the 6th part of our series, What If Tanjiro Had God-level powers like Yoriichi? If you enjoy this video, please give it a like and subscribe for more content in the future. The author of this story is LucasXFun171 from Wattpad. All the relevant links are in the description. Feel free to say hello to the author on their profile. Now, let's dive into the fanfic. What was that? A man's shadow could be seen as he approached closer and closer. Then, a shirtless, buff Hagenzuka emerged. Tanjiro and Kotsu were looking onward, completely scared and shocked. Weva, who is that? Hagenzuka-san. I heard everything. Leave it ... to me. Leave what to you? Hagenzuka appeared out of nowhere with a ton of muscle. He put his hands on the sword Tanjiro took from the doll and tried to take it away. Tanjiro was confused as to why he was trying to take the blade. Please let go. Wait ... why are you even trying to take it? Hagenzuka was still trying to pull the sword out of Tanjiro's hands. Leave it ... to me. No, this is Kotsu-kun's. Leave it. Please explain, Hagenzuka-san. Leave it. No, leave what to you? Hagenzuka got fed up and tugged on the sword one last time while spinning, throwing Tanjiro and Kotsu to the ground. I'm telling you, leave it to me. Some other swordsmiths walked in on the scene and walked up behind Hagenzuka. Boys, Hagenzuka's weak points is his sides. Go for these parts. It was Inosuke's swordsmith. He tickled Hagenzuka and he started crying out in laughter. After a couple of seconds, Hagenzuka fell to the floor unconscious. Ah, Kanamori-san. It's been a while. Hello there, Tanjiro-sama. Hagenzuka will just fall limp when you tickle him, so I'll do the explaining. Please forgive Hagenzuka. He was training in the mountains. Training? Yes. After he heard you broke your sword, he was training before you came here. It was to put on a specific sword guard, right? Tanjiro nodded his head. Rengoku, the flame Hashira, gave me his sword guard after I saved his life. I wanted for it to be put on my new sword. So yeah, he was training so you would get a better sword that wouldn't break. He won't be honest about it though. Oh no, it was my fault for breaking the sword. I was being too careless. This is a first for a slayer to ask him for another sword, so I think he's happy. Every other swordsman hates him, and he loses a lot of clients. Is that so? Kotsu wanted to add a point about Hagenzuka's social skills, and he's really bad at dealing with people. That's why he's not married yet. Hagenzuka sprang back to life, now conscious. Kanamori looked unsurprised at the very little amount of time Hagenzuka stayed unconscious. He's back. Hagenzuka stood up straight with his bulging muscles. I will deal with this rusted blade. Allow me to refine it with my Nichiren polishing skills that have been passed down the Hagenzuka line for generations. Tanjiro finally understood why Hagenzuka wanted to take the blade, so he handed it over without objections. Thanks, I should probably go now. I have some unfinished business with Mitsuri. Tanjiro turned around and started walking away. He reached a hand to his back pocket and felt the crinkles of the letter from last night. He sighed, thanking that it didn't get lost in all that training. As he was walking away, Kotsu and Kanamori were slightly confused about who Tanjiro was referring to. Mitsuri, who's that? I think it's one of the girl Hashira. Oh. After finding his way back to the house, Tanjiro slipped inside into his room and saw Nezuko sleeping peacefully on a futon with her box in the corner of the room. A bunch of toys surrounded her as Tanjiro guessed they were left by Mitsuri. He noticed a note left on one of the desks and Tanjiro picked it up to read it. The date read that it was written yesterday. Dear Tanjiro, I'm leaving this note to inform you that I left this village already because my sword has been forged. Whatever reason caused you to freak out, I hope you figured it out because you seemed really stressed there. I worry for you, but nevertheless, I know you're a strong person so you can figure it out. Love, your best friend, Mitsuri Kanroji. Tanjiro smiled slightly reading the note as he reminded himself that he would need to have a serious talk with Kanao when he got back. He snuggled up beside Nezuko and wrapped his arms around her, starting to get into a comfortable breathing rhythm that caused him to fall asleep. The midday sun poured through the gaps in the wooden walls of the swordsmith shed, casting angular beams across the cluttered space. Tanjiro pushed open the creaking door, a gust of warm air brushing against his face as he stepped inside. The faint scent of burning coal and metal filings hung in the air, mingling with the robust aroma of freshly forged steel. The dim interior revealed a spacious but cluttered workshop, illuminated by the warm glow of flickering flames in the forge. Tools of the trade hung neatly on the walls, casting shadows that danced with every movement. The swordsmith, a grizzled master with calloused hands, looked up from his workbench, his eyes keen and experienced. Tanjiro could see the gleam of sweat on Hagenzuka's forehead as he toiled over a blade in progress. The rhythmic clatter of hammers striking hot metal filled the room, a symphony of creation. Tanjiro's eyes scanned the room, absorbing the details of the craftsmanship displayed. Blades of various shapes and sizes were arranged meticulously, each telling a silent tale of skill and dedication. The air was thick with the aroma of burning coal, tinged with the distinct scent of heated steel. Approaching the workbench, Tanjiro noticed the intricate patterns etched into the blades, evidence of the swordsmith's artistry. The soft orange glow from the forge highlighted the imperfections and nuances of the metal, giving life to the weapons scattered across the workshop. He walked further in and saw Hagenzuka standing awkwardly. "Hagenzuka-san, I heard you finished the blade." "Yes." He was panting and sweating profusely, which just made Tanjiro confused. "Are you okay?" Hagenzuka stayed silent and handed Tanjiro the blade. "Ah, the sword. Thank you very much." Tanjiro was very happy to see his new sword with Rengoku's hilt on it, so he smiled brightly. Rengoku's sword guard. Hagenzuka was still panting like a dog. Blade. He spoke in between breaths. "Blade? Oh yeah, let's take a look at the blade itself." Tanjiro pulled out the blade from its sheath, making a unique metal sound. Wow! Tanjiro was both in shock and in awe at his new blade. It was magnificent, with half of the katana being a shade of obsidian black with the other being a shade of gray with flame-like crevices that separated the two colors. Amazing. There's a different depth of black here. Hagenzuka wanted to give some info about the sword to Tanjiro. "And the steel is very good quality. I don't think I've ever seen steel quite like this. The previous wielder must have been a very strong swordsman." Tanjiro noticed the kanji character at the bottom of the sword. He knew that swords between regular slayers and Hashira had different characters on their swords because he had his sword's character changed when he became a Hashira. It was a very exhausting process. The character Metsu for destruction. Hagenzuka noticed the character early on when he was refining the sword as well. The swordsmith who forged this blade made it to destroy all demons. He didn't even leave a single clue about his identity. Nothing but that character. Apparently, the demon slayer's hierarchy was established before this blade was made. And that's why only the Hashira get the characters Aki Masatsu or destroy all evil demons on them. "Oh, I see now. What an amazing sword." Tanjiro bowed to Hagenzuka as he sheathed the sword and slipped it on his belt that was strapped to his waist. "Thank you, Hagenzuka-san. I appreciate you very much. I'll take my leave now." Hagenzuka nodded as Tanjiro turned to head back. It was about to become night already, with the sun setting on the horizon, so Tanjiro was deciding whether to stay or leave. "I have no reason to stay anymore, right? I could just leave now. But I bet all of the Kakashi are asleep by now. Better just to stay the night and leave by morning." As Tanjiro was sleeping later that night, he felt something brush up against his nose, and then he felt his breath catch in his throat. "NGH." Nuakairo's voice rang in Tanjiro's ears as he woke up. "Do you know the swordsmith Kanamori-san?" "Whoa, Takedo-kun. Did you just pinch my nose?" "Yeah, that was a really slow reaction." No. I mean, I would have woken up before you even came near me if you had malice or something." "Well, I wouldn't have pinched you if I had bad intentions." "Well, anyway, I know the swordsmith Kanamori-san. But why do you want to know?" "I think he's with Hagenzuka-san. He's my new swordsmith. Where's Hagenzuka? Want to look for them with me." "Why are you so concerned? Don't you have something you should be doing?" "Helping other people always ends up being beneficial for me at the end of the day. And I wanted to go check up on him, so nice timing." Nuakiro blinked for a couple of seconds before his eyes went extremely wide, when his mind remembered someone else saying the exact same thing. What did you say just now?" "Now. Just now." "Huh? I said nice timing." Nezuko sat up really fast, accidentally hitting Tanjiro's chin. "Oh, Nezuko, you're up." Nuakairo's eyes went back to normal as he tried to remember why that phrase sounded so familiar. He looked at Nezuko being somewhat rambunctious. "That's one strange creature there." "Oh, is she?" "Yeah, really weird. I can't put it into words." "Have I met her before?" "Must have been some time ago." "Why? Yeah. She was at the Hashira meeting when I met all of the Hashira. Don't you remember?" "Oh, right, I remember now." Both Tanjiro and Nuakairo heard someone behind the door of the room about to enter. "Oh, is someone here?" "Seems like it." The door slowly creaked open and they could both see someone dragging themselves across the floor. Tanjiro and Muakairo were still confused as to why this person looked so weird. Then it hit them. The ungodly stench hit Tanjiro's nose as he realized what he was staring at. A demon. And an upper moon one too. The most shocking part was that neither of them noticed it was a demon until it entered the room, meaning it had a very strong skill to hide its presence. Although they had noticed someone was behind the door, up until now, both Tanjiro and Muakairo didn't recognize it was a demon. In that moment, faster than someone could blink, Tanjiro and Muakairo assumed battle stances. Tanjiro specifically raised his sword above his head and pointed it toward the foul demon, ready to take its life. Muakairo pulled out his sword and got ready to unleash an attack. Mist breathing. Fourth form, shifting flow slash. Muakairo took a low stance before dashing toward the target and slashing them. The demon jumped up to the ceiling before Muakairo's sword could hit him. He's fast. I couldn't hit him. The demon was covering his face with a hand that slightly grazed Muakairo's sword, causing it to drip blood slightly. Tanjiro got into position to unleash an attack. Don't act slow. This demon killed a lot of people. Otherwise, he wouldn't be able to dodge Takedo-kun's attack. Sun breathing. Seventh form, sunflower thrust. Tanjiro thrusted his sword upwards at the ceiling where the demon was. Everything got surrounded in a fiery blaze. Once he landed back on the floor, he saw the demon off to the side with no visual signs that Tanjiro's attack landed. Did I get him? Why is he not retaliating? Tanjiro swung his sword again in the demon's direction, but he jumped away. Tanjiro could feel his heart rate start to increase as a grin tugged at his cheeks as he set his sights on the demon again. Aw damn it, I can feel my heart pumping. Finally, some fun. Tanjiro swung his sword in the demon's direction, but the demon jumped away. Tanjiro felt his heart rate increase as a grin tugged at his cheeks, setting his sights on the demon again. Aw damn it, I can feel my heart pumping. Finally, some fun. He tried to hide his rising excitedness, but it was fruitless because he finally found another opponent to toy with. Muakairo rushed and swung his sword downwards at the demon, making its head fly off to the side, causing it to scream out in tremendous fear. But not even that could waver Tanjiro's concentration. He cut him, but that felt too easy. I in some cases, upper moons won't die when you cut their head off. They always come with catches, like upper moon 5. Takedo-kun, don't lose focus, Tanjiro yelled. Muakairo looked at Tanjiro, slightly surprised and confused as to what he meant. But before he could think it through, the head and the body of the demon started regenerating its limbs. Tanjiro looked onwards, determined and slightly annoyed since he knew something of the sort might have happened with the demon. TCH. He split up. The head grew a body and the body grew a head. No matter then. All the more fun for me. Muakairo, you take the one on the left and I'll go for the right. Tanjiro lifted his sword above his head, ready to strike down at his opponent. But as Muakairo was getting closer to the demon, Tanjiro ordered him to take down, and the demon swung down his fan. Muakairo's eyes widened as he felt a tang of pressure on his body. The force of his body blowing away, and the wall of the room collapsing from the high wind, sent Muakairo and the wall flying. Nezuko inside her box was also caught in the wind blast and went soaring into the air, causing Tanjiro to call out for her, petrified. A muffled scream came from inside as Nezuko was slammed throughout the walls in her box. Nezuko, Tanjiro shouted in alarm. Tanjiro held onto the piece of the wall that was planted into the ground of the rubble. Terrified, he looked in the direction of the two demons that split apart. One was laughing with a smile while the other, holding a staff with rings at the top, had an angry face. The one that was cackling held the fan that blasted Muakairo and Nezuko away, while crouching, looking up at his other half-demon. Haha, are you having fun, Seikido? I sure am. I blasted those two super far off. Don't think they'll be coming back, do ya? Stop with your laughing. There's nothing fun about this. I just feel pissed off at everything. The same goes for being stuck with you. Karaku. Oh okay. Good thing that we're apart now then. Tanjiro tried to control his rapid breathing as he could feel himself lose his mental strength. Do we have to cut off their heads at the same time? The demon with the dissatisfied face slammed his staff on the ground and thunder erupted through the air, hitting Tanjiro on purpose. Tanjiro could feel the huge influx of electricity flow through him as his body started convulsing. He clenched his teeth through the intense pain. While the staff, he's crap I'm losing consciousness. Tanjiro could feel his eyes flutter as he fought to stay awake. He looked up to the roof and saw a familiar someone with a mohawk standing there. Someone on the roof. Genya. Genya looked determined with his brows furrowed on the demons. He was holding a sawed-off double-barrel shotgun, and he pointed it directly at the both of the demons. Meanwhile, Tanjiro was still being electrocuted. Genya shot his gun, the two barrels shooting pellets extremely fast at both of the demons' necks. One of their heads flew clean off, but the other was still dangling on by a piece of skin. Genya looked away as he clicked his tongue in annoyance. Missed one. Tanjiro attempted to comprehend what kind of weapon Genya was wielding and why it smelled familiar. What's with that weapon? A gun? It smells like a Nichiren blade. The one holding the fan was still smirking. As his head dangled from his shoulders, he was visibly excited. Oh man, this is fun. Awesome. I've never felt something like that before. Keep it up. Genya reached behind his back and pulled out a small katana, jumping down from the roof. At that moment, something in Tanjiro's mind clicked. He figured out why it seemed like the demon wasn't fighting back as hard as they could have. Genya, no matter how strong your weapons are. However, Genya was in the middle of his swing as Tanjiro tried to warn him. He cleanly took off Karaku's head just as Tanjiro finished his sentence. You can't beat them like that. Genya turned to Tanjiro and looked at him as he began to understand. His eyes widened with fear. If you slice them up, they'll just split up more and more. They get stronger every time they split. They let you cut them up on purpose. Tanjiro narrowed his eyes as he already saw the two heads regenerating at a fast pace. These demons don't care if you split them up. They probably want us to. So their weak point isn't their head. They split into 4... Talk about fast regeneration G's... If their heads aren't their weak point, then where is it? There should be one somewhere. Look for it. Find out where it is. Smell it out. Tanjiro felt something grab his leg. But as he was about to look down to see what it was, he saw his vision flip completely and felt blood rush to his brain. He glanced up to see a demon with wings carrying him by the leg, laughing while doing so. Ahaha, how delightful. Someone figured out our powers for the first time in forever. Tanjiro grimaced at how tight the demon's leg claws were holding onto him. This one can fly, so they all have different abilities. That's nothing I can't handle. Being up in the air was a weird feeling for Tanjiro. He tried kicking his legs to free the demon's grasp, but it was much too tight. It felt like it was digging into his skin with its sharp claws. He looked at his sword, knowing what he had to do. Tanjiro remained determined and raised his sword, quickly slashing at the bird demon's foot, causing him to fall back down. He hit the roof, knocking the wind out of him. He coughed slightly, trying to regain his concentration. The demon turned back around and came flying back with his claws ready to attack. Tanjiro, still on the ground, didn't see the demon, and he felt something sharp enter his back as he cried out in pain. He looked behind him, seeing the bird demon still flapping its wings in the air while laughing manically. Tanjiro put a hand to his back and looked at it, seeing his dark crimson-stained palm. How do you like my claws? So fast and sharp. They're so powerful that they can even cut diamonds. Now shiver in fear. I'll carve you up into a bloody ball of joy. Ha ha ha. Tanjiro looked behind him at the demon with a huge grin on his face. Right back at you. Yoroga's eyes widened and he felt blood spray out from his body as he strained. Tanjiro turned his attention back to Genya, but he saw him getting impaled by the fourth demon with a spear. The demon had a sad face, shocking Tanjiro immensely. The demon lifted up Genya in the air with his spear. You are depressingly weak. Tanjiro screamed out for his comrade. Genya. The demon ripped the spear out of Genya's chest and blood sprayed everywhere, but Tanjiro could feel his blood boil with every passing second. Genya was pushed to the side as he fought to stay alive after losing so much blood. The four demons then encompassed him almost in a circle, surrounding Tanjiro and ganging up on him. Karaku, the demon with the fan, laughed at how grim the outcome looked for Tanjiro. Hahaha, you're surrounded. Why don't you just give up and become a demon? After all, you can't beat us. Tanjiro hung his head low as he found the demon's statement quite funny. His quiet chuckle turned into a hearty laugh as he looked up at the demons again. Hukuku ... Did you really think you had the slimmest chance of beating me? What a fool. I'm not the one in danger. Tanjiro cocked his head to the side, raising one eyebrow over the other while staring at them with the biggest evil grin he could muster. You are. At that moment, Tanjiro felt a new scent hit his nose, and it was one that he would have never expected to be possible coming from a demon. Fear. At that moment, Tanjiro felt a new scent hit his nose, which he would have never expected to be possible coming from a demon. Fear. As soon as he discerned that what he was smelling was indeed fear, his whole perspective on the fight changed. In a moment of rage for the demons, all four of them rushed at Tanjiro. Tanjiro, on the other hand, wanting to end this fight as quickly as possible, gripped his sword with all his might, turning it from an obsidian black to a glistening red. Get out of my sight, you filthy demons. Sun breathing. 10th form, beneficent radiance. In a spectacular display of skill and determination, Tanjiro executed a formidable technique, propelling himself skyward with a graceful spiral motion. As he ascended, a crescendo of power emanated from his blade, culminating in a breathtaking, fiery tornado that engulfed the 4 demons ensnared within its blazing vortex. This incandescent tempest, akin to a celestial dance of flames, not only rendered it a formidable challenge to track but also posed an insurmountable obstacle for the demons to evade its impending onslaught. As he landed back on the ground, Tanjiro heard all 4 heads hit the ground as he caught his breath. I've only got a limited amount of time before they regenerate, so I have to act fast. But I just can't shake the feeling that this isn't the right way to do it. I don't think we can beat them the same way I did with Upper Moon 5. So this kind of attack doesn't work against the primal emotion demons. Tanjiro's face scrunched in determination, whipping his head from side to side, seeing all 4 primal emotion demons slowly regenerating. But something has been bothering me. If their weak point isn't their heads, then what is? Tanjiro looked in the direction of the scent that hit his nose quite a while ago, and discerned that wasn't any of the 4 demons in front of him. I smelled something weird a while ago. Yeah, it was. Tanjiro tried to concentrate on the smell, and after a second or two, he opened his eyes, confirming his suspicion. The smell of a 5th body. So there's 5 of them. I have to find it. I'm sure the 5th guy is the main body. Just gotta look for it. Tanjiro started running away from the 4 demons, jumping off the crumbling building and landing 2 stories down onto the ground. His feet landed perfectly flat, making him not even feel the 6-meter drop. He set his sights to the right of him again, trying to pinpoint where he first felt the smell of the 5th demon. Find him. Focus. Where is he? No thanks to the fan demon's wind, the smell of the hot spring sulfur is all over the place, making it hard to find him. A small whiff of the scent grazed Tanjiro's nose again, and he whipped his head to the side again, looking at multiple bushes and trees. Yes, found him. Tanjiro ran in as fast as he could, even when nearby branches were slapping him in the face. He didn't even notice it because of how locked in he was in exterminating this demon. Once he made his way to the center of the smell, he had his head on a swivel looking for the demon. He was confused because he didn't see anything in sight that looked like a demon. But then in the corner of his eye, he saw an outline of what looked like an animal. He looked down at the grassy ground to see a smaller version of the first demon he saw before it split. Tanjiro almost couldn't believe his eyes. They went wide as his mind went into overdrive, seeing how small it was. Fucking tiny. The small-sized demon saw Tanjiro towing over him and got scared, fleeing the scene, running as fast as he could. Tanjiro started running after it too. He's way too small. Is this the main body? This guy? Goddammit. Can I even run after this guy? He's about the size of a rat, so it makes him hard to follow. Those 4 other emotion demons were way too strong, and this little dipshit is controlling them, playing cat and mouse while having to fight off the 4 others. I put all my power into one technique, so they should be immobilized for a while, giving me enough time to kill this guy. But if I don't do it soon, they'll regenerate and my chance is gone. I can see how every demon slayer who fought him to this point got killed. Got him, sly runt. That's a dirty way to play. All you demons are just the same, taking any way to ruthlessly kill us humans. I won't have it. Tanjiro finally got within distance of the demon, so he swung down his sword at him in a fiery blaze. He put all of his force into the swing so that when it hit the tiny demon's neck, it started screeching really loudly. Tanjiro had to put his other free hand over his ear at how deafeningly loud it was. My ears, they feel like they're about to burst. But I can do this. Just lop off his head and be done with it. Then unexpectedly, Tanjiro felt a huge aura behind him as his eyes widened. He started sweating immediately and his heart rate spiked. It smelt like an entirely different demon, and this one was much stronger. He started panicking as he felt all of his senses scream at him that something much more powerful was behind him, waiting to attack. He felt his entire body tense up. What the? Behind? Something is behind me. The primal emotion demons that I know of so far are joy, anger, sorrow, and pleasure. But this one smells entirely different. What's there? Is it a different demon entirely? What do I do? Tanjiro tried to turn his attention back to the small, main body that was in front of him. Just cut off his head. If this is the main body, then it will die. If I can do that, then. But as Tanjiro tried to put more strength into his swing, his sword slowed down from moving further into the demon's neck and stopped completely. Tough. I can't cut any further. Crap. I miscalculated how much time I would have to decapitate this demon's head. Tanjiro heard something being banged against what sounded like a drum. Shit. It's attacking. Gotta evade. Tanjiro could feel the ground rumbling and shaking, so he jumped off to the side and saw what looked like huge wooden dragons erupting from the ground. The mouth of one of them nearly clipped his leg, but he moved out of the way in time. He rolled against the ground as he couldn't get a good landing and slid across it. He turned around, standing up to see what attacked him. Tanjiro saw what looked to be a new demon that looked like a short and muscular young boy with short black hair that spiked up at various angles around his head and narrow red eyes with gold irises and upper rank 3 engraved into them. He wore black covered hakama pants with a piece of cloth bearing a close resemblance to Sakido's kimono, and tied together with a long strap of white cloth. He also wore long sleeves that bore a resemblance to Izetsu's kimono. He donned a plate of golden armor that covered his chest. He also had a series of drums connected to each other that are inexplicably floating behind his back, with each drum having the kanji of hatred displayed on them. He also carries around a bone-like dagger in each hand. He spoke in a low but vicious voice. "You brutal fiends who torment the weak. Spite, enmity, and nothing but hatred for those who bully the meek." Tanjiro almost couldn't believe his eyes. Once again, there was another demon in front of him that was still Upper Moon 4. He choked on his breath as he tried to calm himself. "A 6th? We have a 6th now? You've got to be fucking kidding me. Come on, enough is enough." Tanjiro swallowed as he realized his nose was proving him wrong. "No, that's not the 6th. I don't sense the other 4 emotion demons anymore. What happened? Did he absorb them and turn into that thing? It has to be because this one smells much stronger than the other 4. It must be a combination of all the primal emotion minus the old fart. The one I think is the main body." The demon raised his arm and hit one of the drums, making the main body absorbed into the curving wood trunks. Shit, the main body's getting surrounded. Tanjiro wanted to stop this demon as soon as possible and was about to rush at it. "Hold it." The demon looked in his direction, giving him the death glare, and Tanjiro's whole body tensed up. I choked on my breath. He's so overpowering. His aura's pressure is so strong I can feel it in my chest. The demon angrily spoke to Tanjiro, treating him as if he was nothing more than dirt. "What is it, you scum? Do you have a problem with what I'm doing?" Tanjiro remained silent as he tried to calm his nerves before he went berserk with anger. The demon got annoyed he didn't receive an answer. "Hey, you evil shitheads. Humans aren't the only creatures that can release explosive strength when driven into a corner." The demon known as Hantengu was driven into a corner countless times, and every time that happened, his strong emotions became personified and split from him through blood demon arts. That's how he always won. The worse the situation gets for him, the stronger he becomes. Tanjiro got fed up with the nonsense the demon was spewing. He gripped his sword so strongly that he felt himself bursting with anger and animosity. Why are we evil? It's because you torment the weak, right? Just now, you tried to slash a small, weak being who could fit in the palm of my hand. That is pure injustice. Only an evil person would do that. Small, weak being. Who exactly are you talking about? Don't give me that shit. That scent you're giving off ... It smells of blood. You've eaten 200 people, maybe even more. What did those people ever do to you? Did they all do something they had to pay for with their lives? Of course not. Don't play the victim after killing and eating all those people. You have a sick mind. Absolutely unforgivable. Tanjiro was boiling with rage at this point. He could feel nothing but pure hatred and rage for this demon. The mark on his forehead changed to the Demon Slayer mark, resembling the sun coming down his forehead. "You evil demon. I will cut your head off right here." The demon stood calmly and he raised his hand again. He hit one of the drums again with his bone-like dagger, causing the wooden dragons to rush out and attack Tanjiro. Tanjiro quickly dug his heels into the dirt and started running in the opposite direction. Shit. Now what? I can't get to the main body if this demon is unleashing techniques that prevent me from chasing it. Where the fuck are you, Genya? There's no way you're dead. I can still smell you alive, so what gives? I need some help here. Seriously. Tanjiro's heart was beating so fast it felt as if it were going to explode out of his chest. He was panting heavily as he tried to find some time to catch his breath. But the demon wouldn't allow that. One of the wooden dragon heads came after him and Tanjiro jumped in the air to avoid it. He felt the mouth slightly scrape his back as his uniform just continued to get ripped apart. This tree dragon has 5 heads and they can roughly stretch up to 20 meters. Okay, at least I know that much. Tanjiro saw the head that was chasing him start to screech as he did a charge up. It looked awfully similar to Yoroga's attack. Shit, I won't have enough time to. The demon unleashed his sonic scream blood demon art and Tanjiro felt the powerful sound waves rip through the air as it shook his body to the core. The air vibrated with an otherworldly sound, a piercing shriek that seemed to tear through reality itself. Tanjiro clutched his ears in agony as the demon's sonic assault assaulted his senses. His head spun, and a sharp pain radiated through his skull, leaving him disoriented and vulnerable. His entire body was instantly filled with pain and all of his senses were numbed 10 times over. Gog, still in midair, Tanjiro started falling back to the ground and he hit a branch from a tree on his way down, causing him to lose balance even further. He hit the ground head first, causing his brain to pound against his skull even more. He tried to stand but his limbs refused. The world around Tanjiro blurred into a chaotic whirlwind. His vision wavered, making it impossible to focus on the demonic threat lurking nearby. Ugh, there go my eardrums. Eyes are spinning. Can't stand. Shit. Come on, get up. Stupid body. He put force into his arms again to stand. He fought to maintain his balance, stumbling as if the very ground beneath him had turned into an unstable sea. He got up halfway but ultimately, his knees buckled under the excruciating pain. Tanjiro collapsed to his knees, clutching his head in a futile attempt to block out the excruciating noise. His body quivered with pain, every nerve tingling with the aftershocks of the sonic assault. The forest, once serene, now echoed with the symphony of agony orchestrated by the demon. Desperation etched across his face. Tanjiro struggled to rise. Every movement sent jolts of pain through his body, but the indomitable spirit of a demon slayer burned within him. With sheer willpower, he forced himself onto shaky feet again, determination blazing in his eyes despite the blurred world around him. Through the pain and disorientation, Tanjiro focused on nothing but getting ready for the next attack. As the ringing in his ears began to subside somewhat, he honed his concentration, ready to face the sonic demon and silence the cacophony that threatened to overwhelm him. The wooden dragon opened its mouth again, showing it was going to unleash another technique. It's attacking. Tanjiro started running away but he was too slow. The wooden dragon unleashed the attack that the fan demon used. The dirt parted way as the immeasurable amount of wind crushed the ground. Tanjiro's left foot got clipped as he was trying to evade. Tanjiro felt immense pain and he looked down at his foot, seeing it bloody and crushed. He most likely broke a couple of bones in his foot. His left pant leg got stained with blood. The pain hit him full force as Tanjiro winced. The excruciating sensation was immediate and overwhelming, like a relentless surge of fiery tendrils crawling up his leg. He could feel his muscles and bones protesting against the force that had just crushed his foot, each nerve ending pulsating with an agonizing rhythm. Gulighhhh. But he kept running despite the excruciating pain. Every stride sent pain to every limb in his body, making him wince. As Tanjiro gasped for breath, beads of cold sweat formed on his forehead, evidence of the profound suffering he was enduring. The pain was not merely a physical assault but a cruel orchestra of torment that echoed through every fiber of his being. He clenched his teeth, attempting to stifle the involuntary cries threatening to escape his lips. The air around him felt heavy, and the world seemed to contract to the acute focus of his suffering. Tanjiro's vision blurred with tears that welled up in response to the intense pain, but he fought against the weakness threatening to engulf him. He wiped away his glazed eyes in an attempt to see better and not let his pain get the better of him. His breaths came in short, labored bursts as the relentless agony radiated from his crushed foot, sending shockwaves of torment through his entire body. The pain became a symphony of torment, drowning out any other sensations or thoughts, reducing his world to the unbearable throbbing in his injured limb. Despite the searing pain, Tanjiro summoned the last reserves of his strength to grit his teeth and maintain a semblance of composure. The challenge was not just to endure the physical pain, but also to resist the encroaching darkness threatening to consume his consciousness. Amid his agony, he clung to the unwavering resolve of a warrior, determined to overcome the brutal assault on his body and continue the fight against the forces that sought to break him. It can use the same powers as the primal emotions demons, and it's stronger than they were. This isn't looking good. He heard the sound of a drum beating in the distance and he guessed that another attack was coming. His guess was right when he tried to run and he felt thunder rip through the air as he tried to zigzag in between to not get injured even more. No time for breaths. I can't recover. Even though I know the attacks are coming, I can't do anything about them. They're too fast and he's unleashing them too quickly, not giving me time to defend. I can't chain my breaths. He's strong. An idea popped into his head and he limped away trying to execute it. If I move beyond 20 meters, then maybe he can't reach me, giving me time to recover. Okay, this is fine. Just calm down. The demon seemed unfazed and hit another drum with his dagger. One of the wooden dragons went after Tanjiro, but from the head, outgrew another head from its mouth. It did that multiple times until it reached Tanjiro. It bit into his arm and Tanjiro's body tensed in surprise. His eyes went wide as he could feel the biting force being applied to his arm. It's stretching. It started pulling him in as it took his feet off the ground. The multiple heads drew back, pulling in Tanjiro with it. Tanjiro saw how his time was running out as he kept getting pulled in further and further. Use the technique. Slash it. Tanjiro gripped his sword tightly with one hand and was about to unleash a breath, but he ran out of time as the wooden dragon engulfed him completely. He struggled and writhed to get out, but he kept being pushed further down into the body of the wooden dragon. Within seconds, he felt the walls inside the beast closing in on him, fighting around his body like a vice. He tried to push against it with his hands, but it was too much force for him to handle. He felt his last breath squeezed out of his lungs as he ran out of air. It's useless. I'm getting crushed. He felt himself cough up blood and his entire body felt as if 10 tons of weight were crushing him all at once. He heard multiple bones crack under the intense pressure. Is this it? Am I really going to die like this? Then suddenly, he felt the pressure being taken off of him and multiple slashes around him appeared. The wooden dragon started falling apart until he felt someone grab him in midair. When he opened his eyes, he was outside the dragon and being carried. He recognized the pink braided hair with green tips and her high-pitched voice. Her bending sword surrounded the pair. Kaya, that is one big monster. What is that thing? Tanjiro almost couldn't believe his eyes. Kanroji-san. She smiled brightly looking at his bloodied face. Are you okay? Sorry I'm late. That was really cutting it close, huh? She landed softly on the ground and placed Tanjiro down gently. She knew he was in a lot of pain. Tanjiro-kun, you can take a break now. Nice work there. That was amazing at how long you fended them off by yourself. Tanjiro simply nodded, only hearing her muffled voice. I can't hear her because my eardrums burst. Where's Jaina? Is he okay? Mitsuri put a finger to her lip, confused. She shook her head slightly. Genya, I haven't seen him. But no worries about that now. I'll take things from here. Just leave it to me. Mitsuri stood up and turned to face the demon. She rushed at it, ready to attack. Tanjiro coughed up more blood as he tried to stand and warn her. Wait, that's an upper rank. Upper rank 3. She looked back slightly while still running and gave a thumbs up sign to Tanjiro. After giving a thumbs up to Tanjiro, her once warm and happy face fell into seriousness. Her smile faded into a flat face, one of concentration. She caught up to the demon and stopped. Her eyebrows furrowed as she tried her best to be intimidating. She raised her bending sword at the demon. Hey, you. Your pranks went too far there. I'm gonna put an end to you now. Zohakyuten stared at her with disgust, looking down at her. Shut your mouth, harlot. I only take orders from one person in this world. Mitsuri was completely shocked at his insult. She felt very offended and her face flushed red. Harlot, me. He means me. Unbelievable. How could someone say that word? And he looks just as young as my brother. Oh wait, but demons don't actually look as old as they are, right? Even so, how rude. The demon beat one of the drums surrounding him as he unleashed another technique. Blood Demon Art. Crazed Cry of Thunderbreath. 2 of the wooden dragons used the thunder and sonic sound blast attack respectively, aimed straight at her. Tanjiro, watching from the sidelines still trying to fight off the pain from his foot and his numbed senses, saw the demon unleash a big attack and was worried for Mitsuri. Kanroji-san, watch out. But she was ready for the attack and would use a technique herself. Love Breathing. 3rd form, Catlove Shower. Mitsuri leaped into the air and swung her bending sword and it twisted in multiple directions like a whip. Okay, now I'm mad. You may look like a kid, but that's still unforgivable. Tanjiro was slightly impressed at how effective her attack was, and so was the demon. Zohakyuten's eyes widened slightly at how her technique immobilized the attack completely. This girl cut through the attack itself. She might be bothersome. The reason she could effectively cut through the attack is simple. Mitsuri Kanroji's love sword is extremely thin and soft. Her techniques are faster than even Tenjin Uzui's. In addition to the strong suppleness of her sword, the softness of her feminine muscles and the flexibility of her joints allow her to build up speed quickly. This means that the sword is not only hard to handle, but also very easy to cut yourself if not trained with it. It's a blade created for only her to use. Also, unluckily for Zohakyuten, he's going up against a slayer who completely counters him in every way. Her bending sword is perfect for fending off his wooden dragons, while Tanjiro had a hard time with it because his type of fighting style is focused on direct power and strength. With Mitsuri's flexibility, she's able to dodge the dragons. Even though Tanjiro is much stronger overall than Zohakyuten, he just lacks the flexibility part to defeat him. Zohakyuten slammed his dagger into his drums again, now getting impatient that Mitsuri was still keeping up with his attacks. Another wooden dragon appeared and sent out multiple wind attacks, smashing into the dirt. Mitsuri, though, dodged them all effortlessly by backflipping and cartwheeling her way out of the attacks. She looked like a ballerina dancing. She then jumped up into the air again, ready to use another breath technique. While mid-air, she performed a singular, long-winded swing that cut the dragon at multiple angles. Love breathing. Second form, love pangs. She saw that Zohakuten hit his drum again, so she had to ready herself for another attack. Gosh, he just doesn't let up. No wonder Tanjiro had a hard time fighting him alone. One of the wooden dragons let out multiple projectiles aimed straight at her. She twisted her body upside down in the air. She extended her sword to perform an arcing slash before retracting it and extending it once more, done in quick succession to form layers of slashes. Love breathing. Sixth form, cat-legged winds of love. Zohakuten narrowed his eyes further, now completely upset that she wasn't dead yet. She's keeping up with this speed. Then, I'll have to use a technique to put her down. He hit multiple of his drums at once, unleashing his most powerful attack. Blood Demon Art. Countless striking trees. Many wooden dragons emerged from the ground, aiming to attack her in a wide-ranged way. Mitsuri was a bit taken aback by this, getting unconfident that she could fend this off. Kaya, that attacks got wide range. Can I really get through this? Nevertheless, she tried to remain calm and unleashed another technique of hers. Love breathing. Fifth form, swaying love wild claw. Mitsuri leaped into the air again and somersaulted, releasing dozens of rapid winding slashes from afar that essentially formed a tornado of slashes. With this defense, Mitsuri found an opening and closed in fast. Her whip-like sword wrapped around the demon's neck, closing in fast. Alright, I got him. Time to end this. Tanjiro's eyes widened, seeing that she was trying to end the fight by taking off Zohakuten's head. He knew it wouldn't work though, because that wasn't the main body. She's fast, but it won't work. Tanjiro tried speaking, but his injuries were really affecting him. He stopped mid-sentence and coughed vigorously, not being able to warn her. Zohakuten opened his mouth with Mitsuri's blade wrapped around his neck, still closing in. What's he trying to do? But it's fine, I'll just cut off his neck. And Tanjiro finally stopped coughing and was able to let out a couple of hoarse words from his scratched throat. Kenroji-san, that's not his real body. He won't die if you cut off his head. Mitsuri's eyes widened in fear and she started sweating profusely. Oh crap, really? I made a huge mistake. Zohakuten finished charging up his attack and let out his sound blast. Blood Demon Art. Compressed sound waves. He opened his mouth and unleashed an extremely loud and powerful sound wave. Mitsuri took it head on and felt her consciousness fade. She slumped on the ground, knocked out. Tanjiro couldn't believe his eyes. He wobbled to his feet and started running after her. The demon was shocked that her body shape didn't change, albeit her clothes were more disheveled than before. Unbelievable. This girl, not only did she withstand that attack, but she also managed to maintain her body shape. Did she tense up all of her muscles before she took that attack? But even so, no ordinary human should be able to withstand that. I don't understand. Oh, okay, I see now. This girl's strength doesn't match her frame ... so she has a special muscle composition. That's good. Strength comes hand in hand with eating high-quality meat. But I guess I should crush her skull in first. Zohakuten was about to land his punch with vigorous malice. Tanjiro was still trying to catch up. Right when his fist was about to land, Mitsuri Kenroji's life flashed before her eyes. Under the sakura tree stood her arranged fiancé. They were both taking a walk. Mitsuri was both nervous and excited about her first marriage interview. A man of average height with circular glasses turned to her to speak. Only an animal like a bear, boar, or cow would take you as its wife. And then there's that weird hair color. I shudder when I think about that being passed down to my children. Mitsuri was in shock. She couldn't believe what was happening. She felt like crying, but tears didn't flow. Her smile faded quickly and her face fell flat. Sweat started dripping from her face in anxiousness. Let's pretend this marriage interview never happened. And please forget about me. That was 2 years ago. Mitsuri Kenroji's marriage was called off. She was 17. She has a special muscle composition. Her muscle density is 8 times that of an average human. Her arms are thin, but in terms of muscular power, she has the strength of Tenjin Uzui. When she was 14 months old, her mother was pregnant with her brother, so she was worried about her. Mitsuri once lifted a huge stone that weighed 15 kilograms. Her mother, who was famous for her fortitude, collapsed in shock for the first time in her life. And the girl ate a lot. She ate as many as 3 sumo wrestlers. That day, when her marriage interview broke down, she decided to hide those traits. She dyed her hair black. Then she held back her desire to eat until it made her head spin. She also lied a lot and pretended to be weak. Her entire family was worried about her. Then one day, someone appeared saying he wanted to marry her. Mitsuri was wearing an expensive kimono, hoping that her future husband would like her. She felt sick. For the past 3 months, in fact. She tried to reduce her eating, and she also dyed her hair black, hoping that she could find a husband. She was as nervous as the previous marriage interview, but the excitement was gone. She was smiling, but her heart wasn't. She was terrified that this man who said he wanted to marry her didn't like her, and it would turn out like her previous interview. They both walked down a stone path with sakura trees all around them. The trees were gorgeous. Mitsuri was looking down at the stone path below as her sandals clobbered against the ground. She was trying her best to listen to what the man was saying and answer any questions he made, but she had a hard time focusing. His words came in distinct muffles as her head was in shambles. She tried her best to hide that her face was covered in sweat. She hoped that the man wouldn't notice. Is this okay? Is this really okay? Can I live like this for the rest of my life? I eat a lot, I'm strong, and my hair color is weird. Yet I'm pretending to not be me. Can't I be useful to people by being who I am and doing what I can do? Is there any place in the world for me to be me? Is there anyone out there who would actually like me? This is insane. Insane. Mitsuri's eyes opened violently as she felt her body being thrown to the ground. Her eyesight adjusted and she saw Tanjiro on top of her. She realized that Tanjiro tackled her to save her life. Huh? Did I black out? Tanjiro wobbled to his feet and lifted up Mitsuri into his arm as he carried her. Mitsuri was still slightly confused about what was going on. Kenroji-san, can you hear me? Tanjiro started running off with Mitsuri in his arms as a small blush appeared on her cheeks. She nodded. Why, yeah. Great. Okay, so I have a plan to defeat him. I need you to fend off this guy while I go for the main body. You are our ray of hope for winning. Can you do that? Yeah, for sure. I'm setting you down now, okay. She nodded once more and Tanjiro stopped running, letting Mitsuri get on her feet. Zohakuten hit 2 of his drums at once and thunder crackled throughout the air again. Tanjiro and Mitsuri both zigzagged in between them, dodging it. Kenroji-san. Tanjiro nodded confidently, showing that she was handing over the responsibility to her. Mitsuri understood completely what he meant in his action. I'll leave it to you. She ran off and went to deal with Zohakuten. The demon hit his drums furiously again and Mitsuri jumped up into the air, swirling her bending sword around and cutting up the wooden dragon to pieces. Mitsuri was doing her best to fend off Zohakuten, so her normal cheery attitude was gone, replaced by a face of seriousness. I have to increase my heart rate, get my blood circulating, get faster ... get stronger. Tanjiro's smile finally returned. While Kenroji-san is dealing with the hatred demon, I have to find the fear demon. In other words, the main body. Tanjiro started running into the deep forest, covered by trees. The demon noticed Tanjiro running off to go find the main body, and was annoyed further. TCH, that brat. He's going after the main body, isn't he? What a nuisance. He hit another drum and a wooden dragon went after Tanjiro. Tanjiro turned his head to see another dragon going after him, but he just smirked and turned back around while running. Mitsuri came in and slashed the dragon again, only making Zohakuten even more furious. This girl is moving faster than before. What did she do? What is she doing? How the fuck did she? But then, Zohakuten saw on Mitsuri's neck something he never would have expected. He found the answer to his question on how Mitsuri was much faster. A demon slayer mark. A birthmark. Was that there before? That looks like a demon crest. Zohakuten hit another drum to try and finish off her, but again and again, she just sliced them up like no problem. Absolutely detestable. Thanks to this girl, I can't finish off that brat. This is horrible. But she won't last forever. Her stamina will run out at some point. All humans will. Tanjiro was still making his way over to the tree-covered main body. He stopped just when he got to it. It was a ball of wood, and killing whatever was inside would guarantee victory. Sun breathing. 12th form, flame dance. His blade burst into flames and he swung downwards and to the side. The wooden ball burst open and Tanjiro was ready to attack. But as he looked inside he found nothing. He's gone. Tanjiro glanced away, whipping his head from side to side to find the demon again. He ran again. Where? I can smell him. He's close. Tanjiro finally spotted him trying to run off under some leaves again. He felt the rage boil once again. You little piece of shit. Stop running away. Don't run from your responsibilities. Every sin you've committed, every evil deed, I will make you take responsibility for everything. You can't escape from this. Tanjiro kept on running after the main body, but he was really fast and he couldn't keep up. The distance was growing by the second. Fast. It's like he can run forever. I have to defeat him. Before dawn arrives. Before Kenroji-san runs out of stamina. No, I won't let that happen. I won't let you win. Tanjiro was panting hard, trying to get air into his lungs, and he was sweating profusely. But his unwavering determination was getting him by. He clenched his teeth and narrowed his eyes on his target. He tried speeding up, but the pain from his leg returned, not allowing him to catch up. Gog, arg, damn it, my legs can't keep up. If only my left leg wasn't weighing me down. Then, Tanjiro remembered a critical conversation he had with Zenitsu. The breath of thunder makes you focus on your legs the most. So it's surprisingly hard to grasp. The size of every muscle you have. But once you grasp it, you go into full focus mode. Well, that's what my old man told me anyway. He was my trainer. Tanjiro looked down at his legs and tried concentrating all of the force he could muster to be pushed into his legs. Every fiber of your muscle, every vessel of blood, get air pumping into them. Then put all of the power into your legs. All of it. Then explode in a second. Like lightning ripping through the air. Tanjiro zipped through the air, reaching the small demon's neck within milliseconds. The demon was shocked and couldn't believe his eyes. Tanjiro's sword lodged itself into his neck and he put all the force he could muster into the swing. Go. This time, give it everything I've got. As Tanjiro's blade was pushing itself further into his neck, the demon turned his neck to face Tanjiro. I am pitiful. The demon grew in size exponentially and wrapped his arms around Tanjiro's head. Can't you see that? Tanjiro's eyes widened in shock. The demon kept screaming in his face. Don't bully the meek. Tanjiro looked up at the oversized demon and he felt his nose burst and start to bleed with how much force this demon was exerting on his skull. He felt his consciousness start to fade, but he fought it off. But then he noticed something peculiar. Wait a minute. The kanji on his tongue is wrong. It says resentment. But the last time I tried cutting off the main body, it said fear. Something's up. He used his legs to kick the demon straight up into his face. Tanjiro pushed his sword out of the demon's neck with his legs to try and reset the attack. The demon staggered a bit and let go of Tanjiro's face. While taking steps back, the demon wasn't careful enough and fell off the cliff that they were overlooking. Tanjiro ran up to the edge and saw the demon make a cloud of dust as he hit the ground. Shit, he's getting away. Not good. But what Tanjiro didn't notice was that the cliff edge couldn't hold a lot of weight and the edge was starting to crumble. He slipped off the edge as the rock formation gave way, and he plummeted to the ground. His body landed on a tree growing out of the cliff wall, and he coughed up more blood as he sensed his unconsciousness looming near. He still tightly gripped his sword, seeing the demon get up and start to walk away. His rage seemed to seethe and he was at his tipping point. Hold it. The demon stopped walking away and turned around to face Tanjiro. You're not getting away. I will chase you down to the depths of hell and cut your head off. The demon staggered a bit at Tanjiro's hateful comment. Tanjiro finally found the energy to move, and as he tried to get out, he felt his foot was lodged into a branch, preventing him from leaving. He put a hand on the rock wall and tried pushing himself out, but his foot was really stuck. He glanced at the demon again, seeing it continue to walk. He noticed that the demon was heading towards a group of humans, specifically swordsmiths. They were each holding a bunch of swords, presumably to be delivered. Shit. He's getting away, damn it. Damn this stupid branch. He had enough of trying to wiggle his way out of a stuck foot and just used his sword to slice the branch from the rock wall. He fell to the ground again and propped himself up with his blade. He huffed and puffed, now out of breath. The demon was slowly walking towards the humans, so he had a little bit of time at least. Have to catch up. But if this is a different demon, then where is the main body? The one with the tongue character that says fear. Okay, just calm yourself. Tanjiro tried to slow down his wheezing lungs and calm his mind. If he was going to win, he needed a clear mind. If the main body was far, I would have smelled it. But he's close. I know that much. But where? I need to go into that world. Yes, the transparent world. Tanjiro focused on nothing but his eyes as he stared at the demon. He started seeing through his clothes and saw his upper body. Closer, he started seeing through all his muscles and organs and saw a curled up small demon sitting inside his heart. Found him. He's inside his heart. Tanjiro planted his feet firmly in the grass and prepared to launch as fast as his legs could. It's over for you, coward. Evil demon. Tanjiro rushed at the demon, full speed, seething with rage at this point. His sword reached his neck and he unleashed all the power his arms could muster to remove the demon head from his shoulders. He landed in front of the ground in front of him with his sword in the air. He turned around and swung again at the headless demon's chest. Atone for this with your life. Tanjiro followed through with the swing and the demon fell to his knees, now starting to disintegrate. Tanjiro's sword slipped from his hands as he fell to the floor in exhaustion. The swordsmiths helped him up, but Tanjiro had already lost consciousness. Tanjiro's eyes fluttered awake as he tried to shield his eyes from the shining sun above with his hand. He sat up and looked around him. He was surrounded by the swordsmiths he saved. Are you okay, Kamado-sama? Tanjiro was slightly confused, but then he pieced together that he passed out from exhaustion fighting Upper Moon 3. He nodded to the swordsmiths and slowly rose to his feet. His body was sore and in pain all over, so he winced when he stood up. He picked up his sword and sheathed it, sliding it into his belt. Do you know where the other two Hashira are? One of the swordsmiths pointed to the rock wall, and Tanjiro could see Muishio and Genya climbing down. He sighed in relief. He started walking in their direction and joined up with him. Genya, Takedo-kun. They both smiled at him and waved. Genya, I thought you died. When you got impaled by the spear, how did you survive? Do you know what repetitive actions are? Tanjiro shook his head in confusion. No, I'll explain it to you another time. After we heal. Tanjiro nodded while smiling. Sounds good. Muikairo was holding the box with Nezuko inside and Tanjiro extended his arms to take it. Muikairo nodded and gave him the box. I kept her safe for you. Tanjiro smiled warmly. Thanks. Tanjiro swung the box onto his back and patted the top of it. You okay in there, Nezuko? MMHM. He chuckled slightly and gave a thumbs up to Muikairo as thanks. Takedo-kun, do you know if there were any casualties? Muikairo looked saddened after hearing that question. He glanced off to the side, unable to look Tanjiro in the eye, and nodded. One, yeah. Who was it? Kotsu-kun. Tanjiro's eyes widened and he felt his tears well up. No. Are you serious? Unfortunately, I couldn't save him. Sorry, I'll go properly mourn him after. Before I leave. Then, he heard a familiar voice come running towards Tanjiro. Tanjiro. He turned his head to see Mitsuri crying her eyes out while running towards him. She ran up to the three of them and hugged them tightly while still bawling. Thank the gods. Genya's face turned a bright red while Muikairo was surprised to be embraced in her arms. After that, Tanjiro stayed a while to try and help the villagers rebuild because of how the buildings were destroyed. All of the swordsmiths cheered and applauded for him as he was leaving, but it was a weird feeling for him seeing so many people call his name. After all, never in his life had he gotten so much recognition. He thanked the swordsmiths for cheering him on and waved them goodbye. He started walking out of the village with a sigh. Should I head back to my house or go to Shinobu's? I suppose Shinobu since Kanao is there. His brain unfortunately reminded him of the inevitable conversation he would have to have with both Shinobu and Kanao. Oh god. That's gonna suck so much. I wish I didn't have to, but I guess it's better to just get it over with. He felt a tinge of pain come from his foot again as he kept walking and putting pressure on it. Hopefully, Shinobu doesn't mind me staying there since I need to heal. After about half a day's worth of travel, he arrived in front of the butterfly estate. He pushed open the gate and immediately saw Ai in the front, hanging up laundry to dry. She noticed him and blushed slightly. Tanjiro waved to her. Hey, Ai-chan. Hello Tanjiro-kun. She noticed his apparent wounds and was concerned. Are you okay? You look hurt. I'm fine. Do you know where Kanao is? Oh yeah, she's inside. She came by here almost a week ago. I'm not sure why though. Kacho-sama won't tell. He nodded and started walking inside. Thanks Ai. I'll see you later. She smiled and went back to hanging up laundry. Tanjiro opened the front door and walked inside. He walked through the familiar hallways and knocked on Shinobu's office. He heard a quiet feminine voice from inside. Come in. He slid the door open and saw the backside of Shinobu. She was sitting in her desk chair, hunched over stacks of paper. She started turning around her chair to face her visitor. Ai, is that you? I need you to. Her eyes widened when she saw Tanjiro. Her smile instantly fell and her face turned serious. Tanjiro-kun. He looked off to the side, too embarrassed to say anything. We need to talk. Her voice was sharp and stern. She was definitely angry. Tanjiro nodded while hanging his head low. Okay. She stood up from her chair and approached him. She was much shorter than him, but that didn't diminish her anger. First off, slap. Tanjiro was now looking at the wall wondering what just happened. He felt a tinge of pain in his cheek and he lifted his hand to rub the now swelling area. Did she Did she just slap me? How could you? I trusted you. Tanjiro's eyes were wide. He massaged the spot where he got hit and he could already feel it hurt more every second that passed. It didn't hurt much, but he certainly didn't expect Shinobu to hit him. But I guess I deserve it. She shook her head in disappointment. She truly thought he would be responsible. I mean, seriously, what were you thinking? She's just a child, Tanjiro. She can't even make her own decisions properly and you go and knock her up. What the fuck is wrong with you? He stayed silent knowing that he deserved this backlash. I can't even fathom how you thought it was a good idea to have unprotected sex. Tanjiro raised his finger remembering what Kanao said to him that night. But she told me it was a safe day. I was about to use a condom but she stopped me. This only made angered Shinobu even more. I don't give a shit what she said. It's your responsibility to take care of her, and this certainly isn't. She stabbed her finger into his chest when she said the word responsibility to emphasize her statement. Tanjiro nodded, looking down at the floor again. And secondly, if you even think about leaving her, I will genuinely murder you. Tanjiro started getting scared at her statements but also didn't want to go against her. Yes ma'am. You better be the best damn father of the goddamn century, because if you aren't, I will make you my personal lab rat and test my poisons on you. But to make it worse, I won't give you a lethal dose, that would be much too nice of me. I'll give you a dose enough so you stay alive and I can keep experimenting on you. Tanjiro was really starting to get worried for his well-being, so he just nodded. Do I make myself clear? Yes, ma'am, of course. Now get out. Go be a father or whatever and take care of Kanao. She isn't my responsibility anymore. She's yours. But Shinobu cut him off and grabbed a vase from her desk and threw it at his face. Tanjiro's eyes widened and he tilted his head to the side and dodged. It smashed against the wall behind him and broke into pieces, the water and flowers inside spilling onto the carpeted floor. Just get the fuck out. Leave my sight. Tanjiro really didn't want to make her any more mad, so he stayed silent and opened the door behind him and left the room. He didn't want to be in that situation anymore. He sighed as he let the door click behind him. This day couldn't get any worse. Can it? Oh, but it would get worse, Tanjiro. Much worse. Also, if you're wondering why Kotsu is dead, it's because he didn't have Rengoku's hilt to save him. It was already on Tanjiro's sword at that point. Tanjiro walked into the infirmary and saw a single bed being occupied. The occupant had the blanket covering themselves. They were facing away from the entrance and Tanjiro walked up to the bed knowing the familiar scent. He felt terrible for his actions. His cheek was still throbbing with pain from Shinobu's slap and his lips slowly curved downwards. His eyebrows furrowed and he looked down. He wished he could go back in time and never have to make Kanao or Shinobu deal with this pain. I caused this. He glanced back up to the bed and tried to push down his feelings and put on a smile for his lover. Kanao. She flinched under the covers upon hearing her name and slowly turned around. Why yes, Tanjiro. He sat on the empty space of her bed while sighing. She didn't take up much of the bed because she had a small frame. After all, Tanjiro had seen every inch of her, so he would know. He set down Nezuko's box beside the bed since his back needed a rest from carrying her all day. How are you feeling? Kanao glanced to the side, not wanting to face Tanjiro's eyes, but she let out her soft voice. I'm fine. Which was a lie. She had been sick all day. She could barely sleep and was always tired. She'd been getting weird cravings that she never would have asked for and constant vomiting. She even had a bucket beside her bed just so she didn't have to run to the bathroom. And the mood swings. She gets random bursts of different emotions almost every hour. Tanjiro both picked up on the scent of her lying and saw her pale face. He reached out a hand and cupped her petite face. You don't have to pretend to be strong for me. She both hated and loved how he always knew when she lied. She could always be her true self around him, but sometimes she doesn't like explaining her true feelings, so it's always a hassle to lay them out in front of him. Okay fine, I'm sick. Shinobu-sama took my temperature earlier, and the thermometer said I have a fever of 40 degrees. Tanjiro was shocked at how high her temperature was. -40 degrees. She coughed to the side and nodded. Yeah, geez. Also, as you know, I'm pregnant, so yeah. She tried smiling weakly to liven the mood, but it didn't work much. How far along are you? 3 months. Damn, I'm really sorry, Kanao. Truly. She shook her head before coughing once more. And no, it's fine. I thought it was a safe day for me, so it's technically my fault. Don't be ridiculous. I brought up the idea, so it's my fault. If I never would have asked, you wouldn't have been in this situation. She nodded, not wanting to bicker about whose fault it was. Have you noticed a bump in your belly yet? She shook her head. She was curious after all, and the day after Shinobu told her that she was pregnant, she looked in the mirror to try and see if she formed a bump. Unfortunately, no luck. Not yet. I see. Tanjiro lifted his hand and placed it on Kanao's belly. This made her surprised. What are you doing? I'm trying to see if I can feel a heartbeat. Kanao's face flushed and she closed her eyes to try and block out Tanjiro's antics. Tanjiro concentrated but couldn't feel any heartbeat. Nope, no luck. Tanjiro retracted his hand and sighed. Whatever. Do you have any idea what we could name it? Kanao shook her head lightly, not having a clue. I haven't thought about it. Tanjiro's eyes glanced away and they led him to look out the window, seeing the tree sway slightly in the wind. He sighed again as his thoughts went rampant about how much trouble he caused Kanao. Kanao, look, I'm really sorry for bringing you into this mess, but I promise that I will be the best father you can imagine, okay? I understand that, but you seem to misunderstand something. I'm not mad at you. Tanjiro seemed genuinely surprised by this. You aren't. She raised her hand and massaged Tanjiro's cheek to show affection. Not at all. Tanjiro, you were the one who told me to follow the voice in my heart. I've already long since decided to love you no matter what. That's why I'm not mad. Kanao, thank you so much. In the doorway, trying not to be noticed by the pair, stood Ai. She was eavesdropping. She knew it was wrong, but she wanted to find out why Kanao was sick, so once she finished her laundry she made her way to the infirmary. She couldn't believe her ears. She was covering her mouth in shock and disbelief. Her face was bright pink from hearing such heavy words from the pair. Kanao, holy shit. She had heard enough, so she bolted from the doorway and started running. Running to where? She didn't know. She covered her ears knowing that she shouldn't be listening in on this. What a shock. When in the world did they become lovers? And since when was Kanao pregnant? Does Shinobu know? Idiot, of course she does. She's probably be happy to see Kanao like this. To see her in such deep love ... It's like Kani-sama said. She'd change when she'd meet a boy she likes. And that boy could never have been anyone but ... him ... Memories of Tanjiro's bright smile flashed in her mind, seeing her crush being swept away. She turned around a corridor and tried to settle her pounding heart. She felt tears well up in her eyes. She didn't want anyone to see her crying, but she couldn't hold back. Her eyes glazed as tears ran down her cheeks. She knelt down and buried her face into her knees and tried to wipe away the never-ending tears in her apron. She could feel a physical pain in her chest like nothing she's ever felt before. It felt like a vice was squeezing her torso, and there was nothing she could do to stop it. I knew this would happen. I always saw it coming. I'm happy for them both, especially for how Kanao's changed ... but it hurts anyway ... Why? She heard a hoarse voice come from in front of her. Hey. She looked up to see the shirtless boar-headed teen. Who was it? Inosuke pointed to his chest with his thumb, trying to be tough. But he had good intentions nevertheless. Who made you cry? I'll go fight them. Ai could feel her tears stop flowing, and she looked into the eyes of his mask, feeling her heart deeply touched by his actions. Ai realized what Inosuke said, and it made her crack up. She tried to hold back her laugh, but she let a small noise slip. TFFFFT. Inosuke got pissed at this. What's so funny? Ai couldn't hold back her laughter and she burst. Go fight Kanao. Inosuke would never win. Inosuke somehow didn't get angry at her rebuttal. He felt tingles in his entire body as he exhaled. Whoa. Ai stood up and started walking back to the kitchen, now with her spirits lifted. She wiped away the last of her tears with her sleeve. Inosuke proudly marched beside her. Seems you're fine then. Let's go eat. We already ate. But how about something sweet? Dessert? Tanjiro was now sitting in the huge backyard of the butterfly mansion. He was about to leave, but he didn't have the energy to do anything for the rest of the day, so he just sat on a rock, contemplating his actions. It was already sunset as he stared at the glowing orange ball in the sky. Looking at it was peaceful. It took his mind off things for a bit, so he didn't have to face reality. He sat there for quite a while before finally getting up, dusting off his uniform, and heading back inside. He was supposed to be inside resting, but his body was restless. He couldn't help it. He limped back into the estate, and he passed by the only woman in the entire building who was upset at him. Shinobu Kacho. As he was walking by, he was mentally hoping she wouldn't say anything, but of course she had to go and open her mouth. Tanjiro, I need to have a word with you. He sighed as he stopped in place. He turned his head to face the short woman. Again. His tone seemed to anger her slightly. Yes, again. I'll talk to you as many times as I want to. He rolled his eyes as he turned his torso to face her. What is it? I know that earlier today I outraged on you, and I only realize now that I may have gone too far. Tanjiro was surprised to hear this from her. He expected to be lashed out on again. Wait, really? Yes, I'm sorry. Although you deserve it, I shouldn't have treated you like that. I was blind with anger. My apologies. Okay, thanks. Also, another thing. You probably don't realize it, but there are a lot of responsibilities that come with being a parent, you know. Tanjiro hadn't really thought about it. She was right though. Being a parent would take up more time than anything he's ever done in his life. More than being a Hashira. I haven't thought about that. Well, you should. Do you know what you legally have to provide for your child? He shook his head, slowly embarrassed about his lack of information. No ma'am. She raised her hand and counted everything he would need to provide. You need to provide them safety, food, clothing, shelter, financial aid, medical care, and an education. You think you can do that? Tanjiro was impressed with how many things he would need to sacrifice in his life to give to his child. It was much more than he thought. He mentally noted all of these things. I can try. No, there is no try in this, Tanjiro. You have to. Failure to provide these is not an option. At all. Do you understand? Her tone was stern, but she wasn't trying to be mean. She merely spoke the truth. I understand. He nodded, fully realizing his duties as a parent to come soon. Shinobu wanted to change the topic since Tanjiro understood. You're injured, correct? You can stay in the infirmary. Thank you, Shinobu-sama. We're both Hashira. No need for honorifics. Tanjiro nodded with a slight smile and walked off. He walked into the infirmary and put on a spare medical garb. He slipped into one of the empty beds beside Kanao. Good night, Kanao. She was already half asleep, so when she heard his voice, she could only lazily reply, night. The next day he woke up nice and early, just after the sun had risen. He pulled his covers off of himself and got up. He walked to the kitchen to see Ai already making breakfast. He grabbed a plate and said a quick thank you to her. After hastily eating, he set aside his plate and walked out of the room. He changed into his uniform and walked outside of the estate. The sun was shining bright and he could hear faint chirps of some birds in the distance. He was sitting on the porch and wrapped up his left leg with tape to reduce the pain of his crushed bones inside. He wanted to train, but he knew he shouldn't since he was injured and could only limp everywhere without wincing from the pain. After tying up his leg with some tight tape, he stood up and walked to the middle of the backyard. First, he would do some light bodyweight exercises. He would do some push-ups, squats, and other exercises to warm up his muscles. After about half an hour of training, he picked up his sword and unsheathed it. The weight and feeling of his blade was so familiar to him that he felt it was almost weightless. He swung it a couple of times in various directions to get the muscle memory back. He started going through the sun-breathing forms one by one, letting his sword flame the air, and he could feel the heat in his face. 2 hours passed and he felt exhausted, so he called it quits for the day. He sheathed his sword, wiped the sweat from his face, and headed back inside to take a quick shower. After his comforting shower, he walked into the infirmary and saw Kanao still lying in bed. He softly sat down on her bed, shaking her slightly since she was still asleep. Kanao, she groaned out and rubbed her eyes as she adjusted to the lighting. She saw Tanjiro sitting on her bed with a smile. Yeah. How are you feeling? Tired ... and groggy. Tanjiro raised his hand and touched her forehead, feeling how hot she was burning up. Geez, her fever is still super high. I'll go get you some water, okay? She nodded and stuffed her face back into her pillow. Tanjiro stood up from her bed and made his way over to the kitchen, grabbed a spare glass, filled it with water, and made his way back. He sat back down on the bed and handed her the water glass. Kanao sat up straight groggily and sipped on the water. Thanks, no problem. Will you be okay for now? Yeah, alright then. I'll be going. Wait. As Tanjiro was standing up, she grabbed his wrist, preventing him from leaving. Can you stay with me? Just for today. I want some company. Tanjiro chuckled a bit at how cute she looked and smiled. Sure. He sat back down and snuggled with her. After about 2 weeks of being in the butterfly estate after Tanjiro returned from the swordsmith village, she was admitted to go back to the Sunrise Mansion. Months passed, and Kanao was almost 9 months pregnant with her child. The only thing she could do all day was lay in bed all day. The weight of her offspring made it incredibly hard to move. Her belly was extremely round, making all daily tasks a hassle. It was already noon and Kanao still hadn't gotten up yet, so Tanjiro walked into the room, knocking lightly on the door as he made his way in. Kanao, you up yet? She groaned out as she slowly woke up from Tanjiro's voice and the blinding sun in her eyes from the window. Tanjiro walked up to her bed and shook her lightly to wake her. Come on, you need to get up. It's already 12:30. Just 5 more minutes. Kanao, you need to eat. Our baby needs the nutrition. Seriously, so you're only giving me food to feed our baby, and not me. Kanao pouted as her jealousy could be seen a mile away. It seems her lover had a bit of a bias. Tanjiro chuckled at her antics. I didn't say that. I love you as much as our child. Still, you need to eat. Fine ... Can you help me up? Of course. Kanao reached for Tanjiro's arm and he pulled her to her feet. Her body still wasn't used to the extra weight, so when she stood, she wobbled as she gained her balance. Tanjiro helped her slowly walk out of the room. Do you need to go to the bathroom first? Yeah. Okay, no problemo. Tanjiro walked arm in arm with Kanao to the bathroom and stood by the doorway. Take your time, alright. No need to rush. Thanks. Tanjiro smiled and Kanao headed into the bathroom, closing the door behind her. About 10 minutes later, Tanjiro was still sitting by the doorway waiting for Kanao to return. He thought this was an abnormal amount of time for her to take, even with her being this late into her pregnancy. He stood up and knocked on the door. Kanao, you alright in there? He could hear the faint but rushed tone of his lover through the wooden door. Yes, I'm fine. What's taking you so long? I'll be out in a sec, I promise. Tanjiro found it sort of odd that she didn't answer his question, but he shrugged it off and went back to waiting. Almost a minute later she opened the door and instinctively grabbed his arm for support. They both walked to the kitchen and Tanjiro grabbed a chair for her and Kanao sat down. Tanjiro made his way to the other side of the counter and turned on the stovetop. He grabbed his apron from a hook on the wall and tied it around his waist. What would you like for breakfast? Can you make omelets? Okie dokie. He gave a thumbs up as he began pulling out ingredients from the fridge and sharpening his cooking knives. He mixed some eggs in a bowl so it would get a nice golden yellow. He sprinkled in some salt and pepper, then he poured it into the hot pan on the stove. While that was cooking, he chopped some vegetables like onions, bell pepper, lettuce, and some cheese. For flavor, of course. He let the omelet cook for about 3 minutes before flipping it to the other side and letting it sizzle for the same amount of time. He reached into the overhead cabinet, grabbing a plate. He slid the omelet from the pan to the empty plate and put it in front of Kanao. She looked starving. Tanjiro knew that a pregnant woman ate more, but he didn't expect it to be this much. Kanao ate almost double of her regular servings just to give her child nutrition. Kanao took her chopsticks, cut the omelet into small pieces, and started eating. Tanjiro made another omelet for himself and he sat down beside her, putting the food into his mouth as well. Is it good? Kanao nodded while grinning, being enveloped in the flavor of his simple yet savory dish. Like always, Tanjiro chucked at her compliment. Thanks. If you want more, then ask. Okay, sure. Some silence was instilled between them as the only sound was their metal chopsticks clanking against the plates. After a minute or two, an idea popped into Tanjiro's mind. Hey, why don't we go out today? Get some walking done. Kanao turned to him, skeptical about the idea. I don't know. I can barely move, so you don't think walking is a bit of a stretch? Nonsense. You can move just fine with my help. I think it's a good idea. Okay then ... if you think so. An hour passed since they ate and they both got ready to go outside. It was currently autumn, so it was a bit chilly but not overly cold. They walked outside of their estate, enjoying each other's company while walking hand in hand. Tanjiro's attitude was beaming since he was so happy. They stopped by a beautiful tree with majestic orange leaves that were slowly drifting to the ground. They both sighed at the scenic view. Tanjiro rubbed his face into the back of Kanao's neck to show affection and she giggled slightly at his gesture. Tanjiro, stop it. Even though she said that, she was very much enjoying his presence and so was he. He curled his hands around her round belly to try and take some of the weight off of her, albeit only for a couple of seconds. She chuckled once again and they intertwined their fingers. Both of their faces were a slight shade of red. You're so cute, Kanao. Kanao giggled even more and blushed harder. Oh, stop it ... you're making me blush. Isn't that what you like about me? You're such a flirt, you know that. Correction, the best flirt. Her laugh was contagious now as Tanjiro giggled alongside her. She tugged on his arm to be wrapped around her even further as Tanjiro was resting his head on her soft hair. Once their laughing had settled down a little, Kanao still had on a bright beaming smile. I love you, Tanjiro. I love you too, Kanao. Thank you, by the way. For what? Oh, I don't know. Thank you for taking care of me, I guess. I just felt like saying thank you. Well, you're welcome. I would do anything for you, Kanao. Anything. Anything. I would die for you. Seriously. Oh, you're just saying that. No, really. I would. Okay then. Tanjiro continued rubbing his face against the love of his life, enjoying every second of it. In the corner of his eye, he spotted a big flower bed just down a short hill. He got an idea. Kanao, would you like me to pick you some flowers? She nodded hastily. She liked the idea. Yes, if you don't mind, then sure. Tanjiro let go of her hand and rushed to grab her some flowers. He ran down the hill, feeling the breeze in his face. He stopped by the flower bed and crouched down to pluck some. He grabbed the ones that he felt were the most vibrant and pulled them out of the ground. He ran back up the hill excited to give them to her. But as he reached the top, Kanao was nowhere to be seen. Kanao. He turned his neck in various directions but couldn't spot her. He closed his eyes and tried sensing her scent. After a couple of seconds, he picked up on it but it seemed far. Kanao. He called out again but still no response. Where could she have gone from the couple minutes he was gone? He started walking in the direction he felt her scent and after a bit of walking back to his house, he saw her sitting under a light pole. She looked in distress. Her face was covered in sweat and her eyebrow was furrowed in unpleasantness. Tanjiro rushed to her side, kneeling beside her. Kanao, what happened? Her breathing was ragged and quick. She could only pant in short breaths. Once she could finally speak, she said something that would make Tanjiro panic. His heart sunk at her next sentence. My water broke. Tanjiro's heart sank as he heard those words and panicked with sweat forming on his face and his heart rate spiking immediately. He could barely stand still and think properly, so he just lifted Kanao from the ground and held her up bridal style. She was surprised and made a small squeak as Tanjiro picked her up. He started running as fast as he could with her in his arms. His legs felt weak from the lack of blood flowing through them, but he ran as fast as he could anyway. Kanao groaned out in pain again, and Tanjiro tried to keep a cool head to keep her calm. Tanjiro, it hurts. I know, Kanao, I know. Just bear the pain as much as you can and hold it for now. This isn't something I can hold in. I know. I'm running as fast as I can. An hour later, Tanjiro arrived at the butterfly mansion, out of breath and with Kanao still in his arms. He rushed inside, running past Ai, who was very much confused about what was going on. Tanjiro, what's going on? He gave a quick answer as he rushed past the doors. Kanao's going into labor. Tell Shinobu, I'll be in the infirmary. Ai was shocked to hear this as Kanao groaned out in pain again. Ai rushed to Shinobu's office as Tanjiro kept running to the infirmary. He burst through the doors, sighing and thanking that no one was using the room currently. He set down Kanao on one of the beds and her face was still scrunched in pain. Tanjiro massaged her face and held her offhand, trying to reassure her. It'll be okay, you'll be fine, just hang in there, okay. She nodded slightly, but she was still fighting off the pain. Shinobu burst through the doors with Ai right behind her. Kanao. Shinobu rushed to the bedside and wiped off some of the sweat from her face, concerned for her Tsugoku. Ai, get some painkillers for her, and make it quick. Ai sprinted out of the room to get the supplies. Shinobu faced Kanao again and massaged her face with her hand. It'll be alright, okay. You'll be fine. Kanao tried to nod but winced in pain again. Hours later, Kanao had finally given birth and Shinobu was cradling the baby. Both Kanao and Shinobu looked tired and overworked. Tanjiro was still standing close to the bed, but for some reason, he had an uneasy feeling. His face seemed to be covered in more sweat than Kanao herself, and she's the one who gave birth to his child. His breath was shallow and fast as he felt his eyes staring at his wailing baby. His ears felt muffled to the outside world and he couldn't shake this feeling. His heart was telling him to be happy, but his brain was riled up with thoughts. Is this okay? Is this really okay? Do I really deserve this? If not for my actions this child wouldn't even be here. His eyes never left the sight of his child wrapped up in a blanket. It was crying and writhing about, but Tanjiro didn't even notice it. Shinobu handed over the baby to Kanao's tired arms and she slowly walked out of the room, letting the parents have their alone time. Tanjiro scooted over closer to the bed and stared at both the baby and Kanao. The baby seemed to stop crying and fell asleep a bit, giving them both some peace. Kanao glanced up at Tanjiro with tears in her eyes as she held her child. She was pressing the baby wrapped in a blanket close to her chest to try and give it warmth. Her hair was a mess, only tied together with a loose hair tie, and her body was covered in sweat with the intense force she had to go through. We have a beautiful baby boy, Tanjiro. Tanjiro gulped to fight away his bad thoughts and nodded, trying to put on a smile for her. It's not that he wasn't happy to see his child. He very much was, but he just thought that he was too young to be a father and didn't deserve something like this. Kanao still wanted to know what his name should be. What should we name him? I think the name we agreed on before is fine. Okay, then it's settled. We'll name him Tatsuki Kamado. I'll let Shinobu know later with all the paperwork and whatnot. She nodded and she went back to cuddling with her newborn. Tanjiro waved over to his son. He looked cute, he couldn't lie. Hey there, I'm your dad. A week had passed since the joyous arrival of Tatsuki into the Kamado family, and now Kanao and Tanjiro found themselves preparing to make their way back to the Sunrise Mansion. As Tanjiro cradled his newborn son in his arms, Kanao donned her uniform, the routine of which marked the return to their usual responsibilities. Tanjiro, however, couldn't help but reflect on the challenging week that had unfolded. The nights were particularly grueling, as Tatsuki's cries pierced through the once peaceful atmosphere, disrupting the sanctuary of sleep. Tanjiro, now accustomed to constant awakenings, would rise from his bed to attend to the needs of their infant. In the halls of the Sunrise Mansion, as Tanjiro made his way towards the gate with Tatsuki in his arms, he crossed paths with Shinobu. Her sympathetic smile acknowledged the toll the sleepless nights had taken on Tanjiro, visible through the heavy bags under his eyes. Undeterred, Tanjiro continued his journey, gently rocking Tatsuki, who, for a rare moment, was deeply immersed in peaceful slumber. Reaching the gate, Tanjiro waited patiently for Kanao, swaying gently back and forth to ensure Tatsuki's undisturbed rest. Kanao emerged from the mansion doors, catching Tanjiro's attention, who turned his body to face her. Ready? He inquired, his voice carrying the weight of the exhausting week. Yeah, let's go, Kanao replied, her tone reflecting a subdued happiness. In contrast, Tanjiro's energy levels were depleted, the fatigue evident on his face. Walking side by side towards their home, a serene quiet enveloped them. The subtle sounds of dry dirt crunching beneath their steps and the gentle caress of the wind against their faces provided a comforting backdrop. The stillness of the atmosphere became a refuge for the couple, a moment of respite amid the demanding challenges of parenthood. Each step carried them closer to their destination, marking not just a physical journey but also a profound emotional transition into this new chapter of their lives. Tanjiro and Kanao, their weariness tempered by the overwhelming joy of parenthood, gingerly entered their home, cradling the precious bundle of happiness named Tatsuki. Tanjiro, nearly hobbling from the toll of exhaustion, guided himself to the nursery he meticulously arranged for their newborn's arrival. The moon's gentle glow seeped through the nursery window, casting a serene ambience as they tenderly placed their slumbering baby in the crib. The journey from Shinobu's estate had been a roller coaster of anticipation and anxiety. The couple had eagerly anticipated this moment, the inaugural night at home with their newborn. However, the countless sleepless nights at the Butterfly Mansion had exacted their toll, rendering them thoroughly fatigued. As Tanjiro and Kanao settled into the plush rocking chair nestled in the room's corner, their weary expressions exchanged knowing smiles. The soft murmur of the baby monitor enveloped the room, a comforting reassurance that Tatsuki peacefully dozed. He's finally home, Kanao whispered, her voice carrying a blend of relief and tender affection. Tanjiro nodded, gently draping his arm around Kanao. Our little miracle, he replied, his eyes mirroring the profound love he harbored for his newfound family. Just as they were about to exit the room to retire to their own fatigue-laden sleep, a faint whimper emanated from the crib. Tatsuki had awakened, seeking the attention of his exhausted parents. Tanjiro and Kanao shared a knowing glance before she delicately scooped Tatsuki into her arms. He's hungry, Kanao observed, her eyes revealing a fusion of weariness and adoration. Supporting Tatsuki in her embrace, Kanao settled into the rocking chair, preparing for the nurturing act of breastfeeding. The room resonated with the tender symphony of a newborn nursing, the rhythmic creaking of the rocking chair, and the comforting hum of parental love. After Tatsuki had sated his hunger, Kanao carefully returned him to his crib, covering herself with her robe. Standing together over the crib, Tanjiro and Kanao watched as Tatsuki peacefully succumbed to sleep once again. Both parents, running on empty after consecutive nights of fatigue, found solace in the sight. Tanjiro released a long sigh, rubbing his tired eyes. Thank goodness, he's finally asleep. Kanao echoed Tanjiro's exhaustion with a deep sigh of her own. Yeah. However, in the tranquility of the moment, Tatsuki emitted a small mew in his sleep in response to Tanjiro's unintentionally loud declaration. Tanjiro went rigid, swiftly covering his mouth with both hands. Kanao shot him a reproachful look, silently conveying the immense effort they had just invested in lulling Tatsuki back to sleep. Eventually, Tatsuki drifted back to a deep sleep, and Tanjiro and Kanao found themselves in a quiet moment. They looked at each other, recognizing the challenges ahead but also savoring the beauty of parenthood. This is our life now, isn't it? Tanjiro said with a tired but contented smile. Kanao nodded, her eyes reflecting the deep connection they shared. And I wouldn't have it any other way. They both stood up as quietly as possible and tiptoed to their bedroom. At this late in the night, the other three inhabitants Zenitsu, Inosuke, and Nezuko were fast asleep, not knowing of the mood of the troubled parents. Tanjiro and Kanao stepped into their room, slipping into their bed. As soon as their heads hit the pillows, they immediately felt the exhaustion hit tenfold. Kanao snuggled up close to Tanjiro and closed her eyes. Within minutes she fell asleep. Tanjiro was still worrying about his situation of whether he had the capabilities to be a parent. Being a father is something he's never done before, so he's stepping into a lot of unknowns. For him, this was a lot of scary firsts. He sighed as he pushed his face into his pillow to fall asleep faster. I almost can't believe it. I'm only 17 and already a dad. This is too much. Tanjiro Kamado, 18 years. Nezuko Kamado, 16 years. Zenitsu Agasuma, 18 years. Inosuke Hashibira, 17 years. Kana Tsuri, 18 years. Aoi Kanzaki, 18 years. Jiyu Tomioka, 23 years. Mitsuri Kanroji, 21 years. Obanaya Guro, 23 years. Sanmi Shinazuga, 23 years. Jaiomai Haimjima, 29 years. Nuakairo Takido, 16 years. Shinobu Kacho, 20 years. Tenjin Yuzui, 25 years. Rengoku Kyojiro, 22 years. Genya Shinazugawa, 18 years. With that out of the way, let the chapter commence. Tanjiro and Kanao were sitting on the porch of their shared estate, the wooden planks beneath them still bearing the marks of countless moments spent in each other's company. The fragrant aroma of cherry blossoms filled the air as the evening sun cast a warm glow over the scene. They had come a long way since their days as demon slayers, and the tranquility of their present life was a testament to the battles they had overcome. In the quietude of the moment, Tanjiro reached for a plate of matcha dessert, the sweet delicacy a reminder of simpler pleasures. The blossoming sakura trees stood tall and proud in their garden, a vivid canvas of pinks and whites. Their one-year-old son, Tatsuki, was peacefully sleeping inside in his crib, a testament to the peace that now enveloped their lives. The passage of time had not only brought them the joys of parenthood but had also witnessed their personal growth. Tanjiro's once tousled hair had grown considerably longer, cascading down his back in a makeshift ponytail held together by a simple hair tie. It was a visual testament to the changes they had undergone since the birth of their child. As the petals gracefully descended from the sakura trees, Tanjiro sensed that the moment was right for the question he had been contemplating for a while. With a warm smile, he turned to Kanao, who was savoring her matcha, her eyes reflecting the peace within her. "Kanao, how about we have a little match?" Tanjiro proposed, his voice carrying the gentleness of the evening breeze. Intrigue sparkled in Kanao's eyes as she met Tanjiro's gaze. With a nod, she acknowledged his suggestion. Her curiosity piqued. Swallowing the last bite of her dessert, she awaited the rules of the impromptu game. Tanjiro explained, "I'll toss a coin, and you'll guess what I toss. The loser has to do one thing the winner asks." "How's that?" Kanao, momentarily perplexed by the unexpected proposal, questioned. "But doesn't that give me a huge advantage?" "Are you sure? I have good eyes, you know." Tanjiro chuckled, his eyes reflecting a mischievous glint. "Well, that's the challenge, isn't it? Besides, it's just a bit of fun." The sun dipped lower on the horizon, casting long shadows that danced across the porch, creating an enchanting backdrop for the playful exchange between the two. Little did they know that this seemingly casual game would become a cherished memory, etched alongside the countless others in the tapestry of their shared lives. Tanjiro's beaming smile, with closed eyes, lit up the surrounding atmosphere, the warmth of his cheerfulness seeping into the air. The tranquility of the moment seemed to amplify his joy, making it contagious for anyone in his presence. The playful challenge ahead only fueled his good mood. "Of course, I'm not gonna lose," he declared with unwavering confidence, his optimism echoing in his voice. Kanao, her demeanor calm and collected, continued enjoying her dessert. Another bite, another moment of savoring the sweetness, and she placed the stick down on the plate. Her eyes met Tanjiro's, a hint of challenge in her gaze. "Sure, just don't regret this later," she remarked, her words carrying a subtle warning wrapped in amusement. The prospect of what Tanjiro might have to do if he lost lingered in the air, a mystery waiting to unfold. Tanjiro, undeterred by the playful caution, reached into his back pocket, retrieving a coin. The metallic glint of the currency caught the fading sunlight as he rested it on his thumb, preparing for the impromptu game that was about to unfold. "Well, here goes," Tanjiro announced, flicking the coin high into the air. The coin spun with a mesmerizing rhythm, reaching its peak before gracefully descending back into Tanjiro's awaiting hand. Kanao's eyes followed the coin's trajectory with precision, her mind calculating the intricate dance of probability. As the coin landed, Tanjiro caught it and promptly slapped it onto his palm, the anticipation in the air thickening. He glanced at Kanao with an eager grin, unaware of the coin's final position. "Now, your answer," he prompted, enthusiasm coloring his voice. Kanao, her confidence undeterred, responded with a smile that held a touch of mystery. "Heads, I know I'm right." Tanjiro, with a deliberate slowness that added a touch of drama to the moment, removed his palm from the other hand, unveiling the mysterious outcome of the coin toss. However, to Kanao's surprise, the metallic glint of a coin revealed itself to be something entirely different. It was a ring, delicately balanced on Tanjiro's fingers. The realization sent a ripple of astonishment through Kanao. "Oh, Tanjiro, you did a trick. That's crazy. How did you do that?" Kanao exclaimed, her eyes widening in disbelief as she stared at the unexpected twist in the game. Tanjiro, caught off guard by Kanao's genuine astonishment, realized she hadn't recognized the significance of the ring. He attempted to regain control of the situation, offering a warm smile to cushion the unexpected revelation. And there you have it. It's your loss, Tanjiro declared, hoping to maintain the playful spirit of the game. However, Kanao's lips parted in confusion, her eyes searching for an explanation. She uttered, still processing the unexpected turn of events. Blinking in realization, she understood that Tanjiro hadn't adhered to the rules he had initially set. The competitive spirit within her flared up, and she was quick to voice her objection. Wait, I didn't know it wasn't going to be a coin. No fair, Kanao protested, her expression shifting to a slight pout as she confronted Tanjiro's perceived unfairness. The playful banter between them took an amusing turn, with Tanjiro now finding himself in the delightful predicament of explaining the unconventional twist he had introduced to their friendly game. The porch, bathed in the soft glow of twilight, witnessed this unexpected turn in their evening. The ring, now a symbol of a playful ruse, added an unexpected layer to their shared laughter, creating yet another memory in the intricate mosaic of their relationship. Tanjiro, feeling the weight of Kanao's accusations, attempted to defend himself with a hint of playful reasoning. Well, I did ask you to guess what I was gonna toss not what side of the coin comes up. Kanao, with a bemused expression, responded with a drawn-out A. Her confusion lingered, but Tanjiro, undeterred, seized the opportunity to assert his newfound advantage. Since you lost, you'll have to listen to what I have to say, okay? Tanjiro declared, his eyes sparkling with a mix of determination and mischief. Sighing in mild annoyance, Kanao reluctantly conceded, it can't be helped. I won't go back on my words. As the porch embraced the cool evening air, and the sakura trees rustled in the background, Tanjiro gathered every ounce of courage within him. Swiftly, he descended to one knee, a move that caught Kanao off guard. His hands gently enveloped hers as he locked eyes with her, the sincerity in his gaze taking her by surprise. What Tanjiro said next, Kanao never would have expected. Kanao Tsuyuri, please marry me. The atmosphere seemed to hold its breath, the air thick with the unspoken question that lingered in the quietude of the moment. The cherry blossoms above, witnesses to countless stories, rustled in the breeze, casting a gentle blessing over the unfolding scene. Kanao's eyes widened in astonishment, and her breath momentarily caught in her throat. The unexpected proposal resonated in the air, and the porch became a stage for a pivotal moment in their journey together. Tanjiro, with vulnerability and love, awaited her response, their shared history encapsulated in the seconds that hung suspended between them. Kanao's eyes widened to an almost unbelievable extent, the shock coursing through her like an electric current. Tanjiro, on the other hand, maintained a determined gaze, his eyes reflecting the gravity of the moment. The gentle breeze whispered through the air, tussling their hair and carrying the unspoken tension that hung between them. However, the stoic determination on Tanjiro's face soon faltered, replaced by an unexpected flush of embarrassment. His cheeks turned a vivid shade of red, contrasting with the serious expression he had just worn. It was as if the wind itself conspired to reveal the more vulnerable side of Tanjiro. In a valiant attempt to salvage some semblance of composure, Tanjiro bit his lip, a silent effort to anchor himself and regain the confidence that had momentarily slipped away. Yet, the rosy hue on his cheeks betrayed the inner turmoil beneath the surface. Finally, unable to contain the building tension any longer, Tanjiro released a breath he didn't even realize he had been holding. A sigh escaped his lips as he, quite literally, slumped at Kanao's feet. The grand gesture he had envisioned had crumbled into an unexpected moment of vulnerability. I'm done. Totally did not look cool, Tanjiro admitted with a mixture of defeat and self-awareness. The atmosphere, once thick with anticipation, now held a lightness as the reality of the situation settled in. The porch, witness to this unexpected turn of events, echoed with the laughter of cherry blossoms dancing in the breeze, casting a serene backdrop to the unfolding scene. Tanjiro, acknowledging the unexpected turn of events, bowed his head to the ground in a gesture of humility, a stark contrast to the grandeur he had intended for the proposal. He felt the weight of the situation and tried to offer an explanation, his voice tinged with a sense of regret. There must have been some other way. Sorry to be telling you like this. Rising from his bow, Tanjiro lifted his head, his eyes closed, and a hopeful smile on his lips. The sincerity in his expression was evident as he continued to share the story behind the ring he had presented. This ring, you see, I found it during a mission in Tokyo. Word in town is that when you propose marriage, it's popular to give your partner a ring and... Before Tanjiro could complete his sentence, he was abruptly interrupted by Kanao's emotional response. The gravity of the moment hit her, and tears welled up in her eyes as she stared at Tanjiro. His own eyes widened with shock, a mix of concern and bewilderment etched on his face. I made her cry. Why? He mentally scolded himself, his thoughts racing to comprehend the unexpected emotional impact of his unconventional proposal. Tanjiro watched helplessly as Kanao attempted to wipe away her tears with her sleeve, her voice carrying a hint of apology. Sorry, Tanjiro. I didn't know. Tanjiro, caught in a whirlwind of remorse, frantically felt the weight of the situation, his hands waving in the air as if trying to dispel the emotional storm he had unintentionally unleashed. No, it's because I let it get to my head and decided to go with the trend and thought of something stupid. Sorry for making you cry and embarrassing you like this. I'll make amends for this, alright, he exclaimed, his voice carrying a genuine sense of regret and an urgent desire to rectify the situation. Kanao, still covering her tear-glazed eyes with her hands, spoke in between sniffles, her attempt to conceal her emotions evident. Her words were a soft revelation amidst the emotional turmoil. No. That's not it. I could cry even when I'm happy. I had no idea. Tanjiro's expression shifted from guilt to a mixture of understanding and empathy. His eyes mirrored the glistening tears forming at the corners, a shared vulnerability between them in this unexpectedly emotional moment. Then, your reply, he gently prompted, his voice filled with a mix of anticipation and concern. The porch, bathed in the soft glow of evening, witnessed this delicate exchange between two souls navigating the complexities of love and vulnerability. Kanao, amidst her tears, slowly removed her hands from her face, revealing that her crying hadn't subsided. If anything, it had intensified. She continued to cry, the intensity of her emotions breaking through the confines of composure. The porch echoed with the sound of her loud sniffles, and tears streamed down her face, leaving trails of glistening trails. Please, take care of me, she exclaimed between sobs, her words a heartfelt plea that carried the weight of vulnerability and trust. Tanjiro, his beaming smile undeterred by the emotional tumult, responded with an outpouring of affection. He embraced Kanao deeply, enveloping her in a comforting hug. She pressed into his chest, seeking solace in the warmth of the moment as her tears continued to flow. I did it, Tanjiro declared triumphantly, his joy radiating through the embrace. His hands gently rubbed her hair in a soothing motion, a tender gesture aimed at alleviating the distress that had unfolded. I'll make you happy and protect you for sure, I promise, he vowed, the sincerity in his voice echoing in the quietude of the evening. The porch, witness to this raw exchange of emotions, held the promise of a shared journey, a commitment made in tears and embraced in the comforting hug that transcended spoken words. Yes, Kanao replied, her voice a whispered affirmation. In that tender moment, surrounded by the blossoming sakura trees and the fading sunlight, their shared path unfolded with the promise of mutual care, understanding, and the resilient strength that blossoms in the face of vulnerability.